Hello, and welcome to the Video Game Book Club. The book club where every month we read a book or novelization based on a video game. Right?
Yep.
Yeah,
That's what we do here.
This month we read God of War. I put 2018 novel because there is, I think, another God of War novel.
There are the previous God of War storylines, and this is the 2018 one.
Yes.
Which mimics the cover of the game, too, with Kratos and Atreus.
On a boat.
On a boat.
Which they are for like 90% of the game.
Yep.
This is by J.M. Barlog, and I know what you're thinking. Yes, J.M. Barlog is Cory Barlog, director of God of War 2018's dad.
How cute.
In the family. He's also another novelist. He writes like other books and stuff.
Yes, he is a Chicago native. Ooh. Although, didn't you tell me he was from Sacramento?
No, I said Cory Barlog was born in Sacramento.
Oh, so dad, which is J.M., is a Chicago native and Vietnam veteran. His novel, The Window of the Soul, won the Best Thriller at Love is Murder Mystery Conference.
That sounds fun.
He is also a story consultant on God of War 2.
Oh, really?
God of War is his 12th novel.
Oh, dang. He has a cool website. I went on it. It's pretty rad. I would recommend it. So this is the novelization of the 2018 smash hit video game. What does the back of the book say?
The back of the book says, we're going to join Kratos and his son Atreus on the God of War's most emotional and compelling journey yet. So his vengeance against the gods of Olympus, years behind him, Kratos now lives as a man in the realm of Norse gods and monsters. It is in this harsh, unforgiving world that he must fight to survive and teach his son to do the same. This startling reimagining of God of War deconstructs the core elements that defined the series: satisfying combat, breathtaking scale, and a powerful narrative, and fuses them anew.
You know, that's a good description because this is a reimagining. There are stuff that they cut out that isn't in the game, stuff like that.
Do you think that the book is reimagining, or the fact that this version of God of War is a little different than the God of Wars before?
I don't think it's that different, to be honest with you. But, I mean, it still has the God of War things, which is just like big set pieces, giant boss fights, button mashing, and quick time events. Hack and slashing, you caring about your kid. So this is not a faithful adaptation. There are many parts of the game taken out, and the parts that are more directly adapted from the game are repetitive and boring.
So this is about 349 pages, and
it's a 10-hour audiobook.
It pretty much covers all the main things in the game. All the side quests are not even mentioned at all. You don't talk to any ghosts. Sense. You don't.
I don't
look for any Valkyries.
To put that in there, though.
I feel like it needs like one. Put one Valkyrie side quest in there, especially with the Valkyrie thing. It needed it.
Yeah, it needed one Valkyrie, I think. Also, this audiobook that I read was narrated by Alistair Duncan, who voices Mimir in the game, and that's pretty rad.
And because he's the best character.
He is, and he has a great voice.
Yes. So he's Scottish, or?
I'm gonna assume. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay.
He did try to do voices. I think his Brock and Sindri, which are the two dwarves, was interesting.
Because those are very distinctive, different voices in the game.
He's Scottish. He's a real estate broker. That's where the money is. Alistair knows what's up.
Yes. Real estate.
So what's our history with God of War?
This is actually the first God of War game that I think either of us have played.
I had no interest in playing God of War.
Like, we've heard about it before. It's not...
Originally, I did watch a bunch of cutscenes of the original games before reading this book because I don't really like Kratos. I think he's kind of like a...
I don't know if you're supposed to because he's Spartan.
Are you? But everyone loves him. I see so many things.
He's like a no-nonsense, I'm just gonna punch you in the face, dude.
He's kind of a dick.
He is Spartan. Like, they're not known for their hospitality.
And especially in this book, because I think it made him seem worse. Because not only in the game, right, he's like grumpy, but he's in silence, right?
Yes.
He's like, don't talk to me.
But now you get
inner dialogue, and now it just makes it seem like he's grumpy and insecure.
And mad at his son always.
All the time. And I don't think he deserves it all the time. Well, I honestly felt that way in the game.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, just talk to your son, dude.
His son is very much an extrovert and talks to anyone and everything. And Kratos is like, no, I'm not playing. We have a task to do. Let's just do it. Everyone else can mind their own business.
I just don't like Kratos. I don't think he's right all the time. Like, having that stoic, like, we just gotta do our job thing is not always the best way to go about things, because then stuff doesn't really get done. Like, he had to talk to the dwarves and stuff.
Yeah.
He needed Atreus to finish this mission.
Yeah.
He can't just solo it on his own. And it looks cool to be the stoic guy that's like...
And, like, everyone the entire game is like, hey, you need to talk to your son.
Yes.
Like, otherwise he's gonna get sick or something's gonna happen. Like, you're causing all this stuff. And he's like, mind your business.
Yeah, I can handle this. No, you can't. You need help.
Boy.
Yeah, anyway, enough about Kratos. Am I right? How many stars did you give this book?
I gave this book 2 stars because I felt like it was just okay. In my review, I think I mentioned that all the fighting scenes like are no longer than a paragraph each.
Oh my god, like a sentence. They're like, and then Draugr showed up, and then we killed them,
and then he decapitated them. Now moving on. Now moving on.
I'm like, I don't think we have to have that many Draugr attacks.
No, I mean there was a lot. Well, the Hellwalkers were more in the game than the Draugrs, I felt like. But it moves very quickly. It's got a lot of things to cover, and he does cover a lot of the game, but kind of to the detriment of the story. There's not a lot of detail. Like, he doesn't describe what people look like, really.
No, he doesn't.
He's like, this guy with tattoos.
You
a
kind of
broad man with a hammer. Like,
you have to have played the game before reading this book. And honestly, I would recommend not reading this at all.
We read it because Ragnarok's coming out soon, and so it's a nice refresher of
the plot.
We haven't played this game in a while, and I don't really remember half the things that happened in it. I mean, I kind of recalled it as we were reading, but it took a while to reimagine the environments that we were in while we were playing the game.
I remember all the epic set pieces, because if God of War does anything right, it's the huge, cool set pieces.
Yeah,
like
they're good
giants, the big fight scenes with bosses. Like, obviously I remember that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think that's what was missing too, when you have that one, I forget which realm it was, but like it was the maze that you had to go to and everything kept changing.
Oh yeah.
And it had the fog on it that you had to have the special armor for.
I don't remember that.
That's not in the book at like all.
Yeah, you didn't go to
that was a cool place.
As many realms, I think. Did you miss out on a realm?
I feel like so there's 9 realms. You don't get to go to all of them.
Mm-hmm. I thought the only realm you didn't go to was Midgard.
You're in Midgard, though.
I mean, not Midgard. What's the god's place? Asgard.
Yeah, Asgard. You don't go to... There's like 2. Because you don't go to all 9.
Oh, yeah.
So in Norse mythology, there's like the world tree, and part of the different branches of the world tree, there are 9 different realms. 9 is like a super important number to the Norse, and each realm has like a different species in it. Jotunheim is the giants. We'll talk a little bit about some of the worlds that we do get to go into, but yeah, you don't get to go to that much. So the game starts in Midgard, which is kind of like Earth-esque.
Yeah, we're in Midgard a lot. We go back to Midgard a lot. And I like how this book is separated into, depending on what realm you're in, what Heim you're in, because that helps me divide it up.
I feel like
easier.
So there, like, it divides it into sections of like which realm you're in, but then also within the realms it goes chapter by chapter, but each chapter is like 2.5,
it's
3
really
pages.
Short.
I'm like, you could have just kept it at like, we're in Midgard, and then your next chapter is...
There isn't a lot of cliffhangers either between the chapters.
No, it was oddly placed.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like the chapters were not necessary.
Okay, so should you read this before or after playing the game?
I think if you read this before you played the game or watched the game, you would be super confused and you would have no idea what was going on. It is kind of the writing technique. He does have a lot to tell, and he's really just telling you what happens instead of trying to create an image and showing you what happens. So there's not a lot of details. There is a lot of inner monologue, which makes both characters kind of moody, but
Yeah, it does make him kind of moody.
There's a couple things I like actually had to go back and read certain chapters because they'll say something and I'm like, I don't remember that.
I remember reading somebody's review on Goodreads about this, and they also gave it 2 stars. I gave it 2 stars.
A lot of people gave it 4 or 5 stars, I think, just because they liked the game.
But this person really liked the game but didn't like the book, so I read their review because
like one of the reviews was like, just play the game.
And it was their characterization of Kratos and Atreus, because they didn't have internal dialogue in the game, was completely different than the J.M. Barlog's interpretation of what's going on in their brains during these events. And, you know, that kind of deterred them from it. And I can see that being a problem.
Yeah.
I think it just made Kratos look worse, in my opinion. And I think it made Atreus look a little more whiny, in my opinion, than he already kind of was. And I can see that ruining it for you if you have an interpretation of what these two characters are because you play the game and they're kind of quiet. You know, they keep it to themselves.
Well,
they
they're fighting
say stuff
something
out loud
all the time. They're constantly fighting something.
Yeah, so don't let it ruin your interpretation. It's just someone else's interpretation of events.
The other thing I missed from the game that's not really in the book is Mimir does tells you so much mythology from the Norse. You get a good, and most of the mythology is true to
pretty much
legend. It's not like Hollywoodized, but
some of it is.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I definitely had to look a few things up while reading. I was like, is this real? It wasn't.
Oh, let me tell you about the story about Atreus, but I have to do it at the end because that's what they bring it up. I don't know if you know the actual historical
of Atreus?
Of who Atreus
I don't know anything about Atreus, though I would love to.
You have to wait till the end before you get
all I got was from the God of War wiki, so
yeah, well, so
which is very sparse.
As a teacher, I've taught classical material, and so there is
I wanted to see if Atreus was like in one of the previous God of Wars as like his friend.
It is, yeah.
It didn't look like it was.
He's like, well, that's what he names Atreus after.
Well, yeah, he brings him up. He's like, oh, I had a friend.
He's the bravest. Yeah, he is. I don't remember which one he is in, but there is a historical Atreus who was a Spartan, and I'll once we get to the end where he talks about the name, I'll tell the story.
Sounds good. So, yeah, let's just...
We're gonna dive in.
Dive in. Spoil everything for you. This is the entire plot of God of War 2018, minus a lot of content. So...
Yeah. I liked some of the side quests.
Me too. There was one... Oh, this is kind of a spoiler. Spoiler for the game side quest. There's one where there's like that ghost that tricks you.
Yeah.
I love that one.
There was another one that you had to deal with like 3 different dragons too, and that wasn't in this one either.
There's only one dragon. Nidhogg.
There's 2.
In the book?
Yeah, in the book there's 2. Because there's the one by Mimir where they save Sindri, and then there's the one that Baldur is on.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot.
So there's only
that.
2.
Okay, I believe you. I forgot about that whole fight scene. Wow. You're right. I was just thinking about the one.
It comes like one after the other. This thing happens, like a lot of stuff happens very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's get into it.
All right, so we're going to start God of War. We started Midgard with chapter 1.
They skipped the opening scene from the game, which is the funeral of... What's her name?
He calls her Faye, but she has another name at the end, just like Atreus does. Which I think is...
It's very similar to the actual name, though. It's like Faye is in the name.
That was like Luffy.
That was Faye.
I put Luffy. Loufy. I might have spelled that wrong, though. It was on the last chapter, and I was...
It's Luffy.
Luffy, okay. Because it was close to Freya. I was like, Faye and Freya, like...
So, yeah, they skipped the part where they're burning... her.
But Lupe is actually from Norse mythology too.
Yes.
So.
And if you know anything about that, that is a spoiler.
Yes.
For the end of this game. So, honestly, if you know anything about Norse mythology, you can get the twist of this game so early.
Yes. They hint at a lot of things, but they do like change some of the mythology, and we'll get into that once we get to those characters. But if you already know about Norse mythology, it's gonna be...
You're gonna know what's gonna happen.
You're gonna know what's up, yeah.
Anyway, Atreus over here. This little boy he's a redhead, right? I'm giving you more description.
Do they ever tell us he's a redhead? Like on the
He
cover,
looks
he's
like
got
a
a redhead.
redhead. He's hunting deer. He's the skinny. How old do you think he is?
He's 11. It tells us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This 11-year-old ginger is hunting deer over here,
And like
trying to prove himself.
I don't know about anyone else, but when you're trying to like concentrate to do something and someone's constantly like nagging you,
Focus.
trying to
That's
like
my Kratos voice.
mansplain things to you, I just get irritated and then I like mess up. And that's what Atreus happens to Atreus.
Mm-hmm.
He shoots the deer but doesn't kill it, so now
Yeah, Atreus like, I gotta prove myself to my dad. But meanwhile, his dad, who's Kratos,
and he has his bandages over his forearm, so
white dude.
like no one, like anyone would know where they're at, like what that means.
Yeah, that's true. If you didn't play the previous God of Wars, you wouldn't know what that means.
But even the people I'm like, who's he hiding it from?
Well, isn't it just because those are his wounds that he got for pledging himself to Ares, right? So he has the Blades of Chaos,
Yeah.
right? He pledged himself to Ares because he wanted to go save his brother. And then Ares gave him the Blades of Chaos, which are these chains that wrap around, his arms. And then they give him wounds like forever.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just wrapping those wounds up.
So he's like trying to forget his past. I guess it's for him. It's not.
It's
really
for him. It's always for him.
Yeah.
Atreus does not care, but he doesn't know that.
So he misses, and like he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Kratos is like, "Don't be sorry. Be better."
Thanks.
Direct quote. Starting off real great. Dad.
Kratos is pissed, but he has to chill because Atreus is just a kid.
Yeah.
And he has this internal dialogue where he's like, I have to remember that my wife tells me to chill out when Atreus messes up because he is 11.
Yes.
And at least he's, trying.
But his mom took him out hunting and stuff before.
And she was nice and good and everyone loved her.
Yes. And she had a cool garden.
She's
and
the
a hawk.
bee's knees.
Or falcon or whatever.
Anyway, they have to chase that deer now because he kind of hit it.
He hits it. There's a blood trail. He is really good at tracking.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you're 11, you're closer to the ground.
True.
And then it's hurt, and he's got to finish what he started.
Yeah, so Kratos is trying to help him deal the final blow with his hunting knife.
Mm-hmm.
Right into the heart. Atreus is like, ew, I don't want it.
I can't do it.
But they do it. And then a troll shows up and takes the stag.
Man.
And
Atreus can talk to this troll because he is like a master linguist.
Yes, he's a master linguist. He learned it from his mom. I guess the troll's just being mean. The troll's like, it's mine.
Yeah.
Go away. And
Kratos
he pushes him.
I don't think so.
And then it's chapter 2, where Kratos throws his magic boomerang axe at him. Atreus can understand what the troll is saying, and the troll is like, you don't belong here.
Mm-hmm. He's like, shut your face. Kratos' axe has a freezing effect.
Yeah.
And so it freezes the deer carcass, and then the deer carcass shatters. So no one can have the deer.
Get it. Okay. Then he axed the troll in the head.
Atreus is like, get out of the way, I can shoot it. And he's like, boy, you couldn't even shoot a freaking deer. And don't try to shoot me.
Atreus couldn't get a shot in, and he lashed out at the dead troll, stabbing it in the head with his hunting knife.
So he, like, couldn't kill this deer. Like, he had a hard time. And then his dad, like, reprimands him, and then he fails at the troll, and then he goes, like, super psycho.
Yeah.
Stabby, poke on the dead troll.
And then he freaked out so hard that he started having an asthma attack.
Yes.
And coughing.
Kratos is like, time to go home.
Yeah, and now they're gonna go home, and they're not having deer tonight, they're gonna have badger instead, which Atreus is mad about.
It sounds gross. I've never had badger, I can't tell you.
There are ravens in the forest, by the way, and it concerns Atreus because his mom told him that if he ever saw ravens, to tell her they're bad, and he's like, what?
You don't find out about, like, the importance of the ravens until, like, almost the end of the book.
But if you know Norse mythology, you can figure it out.
What's up.
Atreus also charred the badger because he was in charge of cooking it, and then he messed that up too.
Yeah, because he's thinking about all of his faults. And
thinking about his mommy.
Mm-hmm.
And they went to bed. Very boring. Kratos is fighting wolves in his dreams. He's remembering his past life as the God of War, aka the previous games. And then he wakes up.
To a bang bang.
Atreus is pissed that his dad is mad, that he got mad. And then somebody shows up. And he's like, Atreus, go hide in the floor.
Comes a knocking.
Go hide in the floorboards.
And then he's like, what do you want? And the stranger says, you already know the answer to that. No, he doesn't, because why would he ask?
Yeah, he has no idea.
Like, doesn't know the whole time.
He has no idea who this guy is. He just showed up.
He's a tattooed dude, no, like, shirt, right? Is that
no
how he's
shirt.
described? Funky hair.
Funky hair. Supposed to be hot, but that is to be contested.
I mean, he's more attractive than the other dudes in this game.
Debatable.
You think that Thor's sons were more attractive?
I don't think anyone's attractive in this game. Got him.
It's all about it's all about Brock. Blue Man Group.
Yeah, so he's egging Kratos on to fight this random dude who just showed up and then, like, bitch slaps him. And then...
Yeah, he's super rude. It's like, you knocked on my door. Like, hello.
This guy just sucks.
He needs, like, one of those Ring cameras, so he can just be like, what you want?
Yeah, so then they full-ass start punching instead of bitch slapping. Kratos is trying really hard not to fight, but then Baldur throws him into his house. I'm sorry, his name is... It's Baldur. I know who it is. I wrote it down.
Oh, yeah.
You're not supposed to know that.
Baldur?
But it's Baldur.
Yeah. They don't tell you that too till like you see him again.
Who is
he's Odin's son.
He's Odin's son. He's supposed to be the prettiest of all the gods.
And he says, Odin sent me for answers, but your vanity has turned this into a battle. He asked him what he wanted, and like he wouldn't even. He's like, you know what I want, and he's like, no.
Baldur sucks and doesn't make any sense. Okay.
Yeah, he's like the most beloved of the Asir gods.
Yes, everyone loves him because he's so handsome.
Yeah, got magical abilities.
I mean, they did string him up in real mythology and throw stuff at him because
he cannot feel pain
or die.
Nothing can hurt him except for something.
So how beloved, really?
That's all. I mean, it's.
You string your friend up and throw stuff at him because you love him? No.
It's
a frat house.
Yeah, it's a frat house. Did you never play wall ball where like everyone would like stand against the wall and like you?
I play wall ball where I throw the ball against the wall. There's no one standing.
Yeah, but then there was like a part of that rule where something happened, and I can't even remember. It's been too long. And then like you all had to line up against the wall and like
a firing squad. No. Maybe
that was just we were a little rough and tough. I mean, kids are still rough and tough now. But...
It's just different versions of the same thing.
That's true.
Yeah, so they Baldur throws Kratos into his own house, and then Baldur walks in.
Wrecks it.
And is like, why is there 2 beds in here? And Kratos has no idea why this strange guy is fighting him, but he's finally mad enough to fight back.
He like broke his house.
Yeah. Baldur wounds are healing. He's immortal. Baldur wants to know something, but Kratos is not talking, so he started going to check the house to see what Kratos is hiding. Kratos beats the shit out of him until he died.
They're like throwing trees at each other, and
he didn't come back to life.
He snaps his neck.
He snaps his neck.
So he says, "Come on, do it. Of everyone I've faced, I'd hope you would have been able to make me feel something." But even you can't.
Which makes me feel like he came there for Kratos, right? But then at the end of the book, they're like, no.
Yeah.
He came here for a different reason.
Well, like, you think, like, they never fully tell you why, but then he, like, guesses. Because at first he's like, oh, he's here because of the sun, and then later we find out there could be another reason why he's there.
It sounds like he's here because of Kratos, then later it sounds like he's here because of the sun, and then later they're like, he's here because of the mom. And I'm like, I don't know why he was there.
And no one really knows. Maybe in the second game they'll answer the question.
I doubt it.
I doubt it too. Yeah.
Anyway, they just want to have a cool epic fight scene where you...
It's like right at the beginning of the game.
Throw a dude into rocks and trees.
Like before you know how to play.
They want to show you... That's why it's like a quick time event thing.
Yeah.
Almost.
You have to like punch him in the face and then he throws a mountain at you.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty rad. It's very Dragon Ball Z.
Yes. It was.
Kratos went back to his house confused after snapping Baldur's neck. He lets Atreus out, and he's like, we're leaving.
Yeah, we got to go.
Atreus walks outside. He sees the carnage, like all the trees all messed up and the rocks, and he's like, what the fuck happened? Did you kill that guy that was at that house?
Is he still there? Is he like lying there on the floor? Like, I don't think we ever saw that.
Well, I think he went like too far.
He's like,
remember you like Dragon Ball Z flew in the air and then like shot him across the map. Yeah. Atreus noticed that Kratos brought his mom's ashes, and Kratos
in a little baggie.
Won't let Atreus hold the ashes.
Like ever. He keeps being like, "Can I hold her for a little bit?" Rude. He's like, "No."
And he does it for a selfish reason. Like in the game, it was like, "Oh, you're not ready." But in the book,
on all honesty, he'd like, probably lose her. But
yes, But in the book, he's like, I don't want to let go of my wife.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
I mean, he has her axe, which I didn't even know that was hers.
They found out that there was a protection rune all around the forest, and it was broken. I also want to say, if you can hear this dog snoring, I apologize. We have a dog right here, and very loud. But I don't want to wake him up, so
He's like awake.
that's just how he breathes.
He's just very comfortable as he's listening to the story of
Yeah,
God of
we're
War.
reading him the story of God of War. And then they found out that there was a protection rune all around the forest.
It was like all these white trees, so when you looked at it from above, which he's like, oh, I never knew that. I'm like, you would never have known that if you didn't look
Dude
from it
just
from above.
flew in the air
Yeah,
to punch Boulder
that's
across the map. I think he could have.
But there are like
He
these
could like
white
Hulk
trees.
jump up really
True.
high. If he wanted to, you know, Kratos is OP. Anyway, there's like handprints on them, right?
Yes.
That was the thing.
And he had to cut 3 of them down. That's what he was instructed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, crap, I cut these trees down. And they used the trees to burn her body.
Yeah.
And
At
that
her
was
request.
her request. And then all the crap starts happening. And it's all her fault.
It's all her fault. She asked the protection spell to be busted when she died because
they had a journey to take.
She wants them to die too.
And she knew
She's gonna
that
take it with her.
Kratos would just stay at home all day. And so she's like, if you take down this protective rune, our house will be broken and you will have to move.
Tricky lady. So they're walking. They smell Draugr, which are warriors who are too mad to die, which I get it. So they are dead husks with anger problems.
They're like zombies, yeah.
They decide to fight them, and after killing them really fast, together as a team, they decide to do something. Set up camp. Kratos was asking about Baldur. Atreus knows his Norse lore.
Yes, he does. He's like, hey, that's Odin's son.
Yes.
He's like, ew, gods. I hate gods.
I hate gods. They woke up, they kept going. Atreus fell through a bridge. Kratos caught him as he fell 20 feet. And down under the bridge, there's a bunch of frozen Draugr where they fell, and they have to fight them now. Atreus found a plaque saying that this was a marketplace once. They're in this area. More noise, comma, time to get back up to the ridge.
Get back up to they're waking up all the Draugrs. They're like, we need to sneak attack.
So now they come up to a big gate.
They're like, well, if we go on the other side of the gates, the Draugrs can't come after us, so
They
Kratos,
can't open gates.
like, has to pick up the gate and move it like a farmhouse, you know, when you're out there, like horse pastures and stuff, you have to like pick up the gate to move it.
Yes.
That's what I pictured anyway.
Okay. Well, they open the gate.
Like, I pictured just like those 2 bars where you could totally see on the other side, but like he has to pick it up.
That would make the next
Draugr free.
Some men close the gate, so they open the gate, they walk into the gate, some randos close it, and they were bandits.
Sigmund is actually one of the banditos.
Yeah, that's right.
Sigmund is from Norse mythology as well.
Well, he's about to get murdered
by
Kratos because they were like, "Ooh, we're gonna eat you. We're
dinner
bandits."
time.
Kratos murdered them. Atreus killed the last one and then cried about killing a man.
His first person that he's killed. So he's 11. It's a big deal. I'm glad they put that in there, though, not just that he was a psychopath.
That is nice. The bandits rose from the dead. Kratos killed them again. And after 3 hours of walking, they stopped to camp again. Lots of walking and camping.
He's like, well, we can't stay here. There's dead people and twice dead people, so take our badger jerky and let's go.
They come across a rope bridge. Someone is up ahead. In the middle of the bridge, there was like a weird creature, pack animal thing, and a tiny blue man named Brock who was yelling at this creature to move.
Was super grumpy.
Creature wouldn't move. It's scared of something in the woods.
Yeah, Atreus is like, hey, what's your name? My name's Atreus. This is my life story. Kratos is like, shut up, dude.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have that much of a life story to tell, so.
Yeah. True. But he's like, we have to help them. Atreus is like, we have to help them so we can get across the bridge, because Kratos is just like, we don't talk to them. Don't talk to strangers.
Yeah, but they need him to move. So,
Yeah,
like,
he's
they
in the way.
actually have to talk to the stranger to get him to move his butt.
So Atreus is like, "Hey, Dad, throw your arrow at those trees." And
Yeah.
he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Trust me." And so they do it.
And then ravens fly out of the trees, and then the animal's like, okay, cool,
Yeah.
I'll start moving again. Brock says he and his bro made that axe that Kratos is holding. He's like, where'd you get that? Did you kill the
steal
person?
it?
And Kratos isn't saying anything, but he's like, I made it, I could upgrade it if you want.
He's like, "Don't touch my axe." And
Yeah,
he's
and
like,
luckily Atreus is like, oh, that's my mom's axe.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and he's like, oh, yeah, that's fine then. As long as you didn't kill that lady to get that axe. And they're like, well, she is dead. And he's like, oh.
"Let me fix your axe. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Don't let my brother touch it because they are broken up."
Yeah. They have half each other's branding. They're broken up. Brock took them to his camp. Kratos let Brock upgrade his axe, and Brock lets Atreus eat his food.
Very nice one.
Very nice. After Brock fixed his axe, Draugr attacked. Kratos took them out. Very good timing, so he can work on his axe, you know? Nice that Draugr to wait until it was fully upgraded for them to attack. Very polite.
Yes.
Then they
we
leave.
had to learn our new technique on how to throw it.
Yes, then they leave. They found the gate to the world beyond. He threw his axe on a counterweight, opened a gate, puzzle solved.
Yeah, so the ceiling was coming down, and like, it's not very descriptive, but
They started solving gear puzzles.
yeah.
But messed up, and spikes started falling slowly down, and then they managed to get out, and they see the peak of the mountain over yonder when they get out of the puzzle
in the
room.
game, I thought there were like bandits in there.
I mean, there probably
That was the thing, like they're shooting at you, and like it's coming down, and you're like distracted.
I don't know. Anyway, they're out of the puzzle room. They see where they need to go in the distance. They found tracks. Kratos and Atreus are tracking it.
Tracks.
It's a boar. That was very colorful.
Hungry.
Colorful boar. Atreus took the shot and it bounced off, and Atreus is confused. But they go after it anyway. And it went to an abandoned camp. And there's a bunch of Hellwalkers there, which is blue dead coldmen.
So they're different than Draugrs, because Draugrs are like zombies, but Hellwalkers are like spirit stuff, right? Because they're blue.
I just think of them as Draugr, but cold.
Okay.
So
Hellwalkers are people that when hell closes its gates, they get to wander because they don't like to wait in line.
Okay, so they take out the Hellwalkers. Atreus shoots the boar. He runs after it. He forgets his hunting knife. Kratos is mad he forgot his mom's hunting knife.
Yeah, it was like one thing he had from his mom.
What an idiot. He picks it up, but Atreus is gone.
He's like, this kid doesn't deserve this knife.
Kratos is yelling after Atreus, and he hears a female voice saying, "What have you done?" And Atreus is like, "I'm so sorry."
It's a witch.
She's trying to save the boar, saying it was her friend.
Hildisvini.
I'm glad you wrote that down, because I didn't.
It's the name of the boar. And he is also in Norse mythology.
She managed to paste the boar's veins back together pretty graphically. She needs to go back to her house, and she asks Atreus and Kratos to follow with the boar.
Yeah, so Kratos is basically just carrying the pig.
Yeah, it's a heavy pig. It's a big boar. They went to her house, which is a witch's house, beneath a magical thicket. She has to move some vines.
And then it's like a tree, and they're like, "You live in the tree?" And she's like, "Just wait for it."
It's actually a huge turtle.
Giant turtle, and she lives underneath the turtle.
Pretty rad. Atreus tells the witch the whole story about his life. His mom died, and they're taking her ashes to the highest peak of the realm. The witch asks Atreus to go outside to get some roots, and she turns to Kratos and is like, I know who you are.
So she also, in the house, she has these windows that look into different realms.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. They don't really describe what you see.
They say that one window's super weird,
and
it's different. It doesn't bring in light like the rest of them does, and they're confused about the window. They bring it up later, but it's kind of inconsequential, to be honest with you.
She basically lives in like a one-room kitchen.
Yeah, a little studio apartment on this turtle.
She sends Atreus to go like pull roots from her outside garden.
And after telling Kratos, like, you're not from here,
She knows
come for you.
Yeah, she knows who he is, which is weird because then she never identifies herself.
Yeah, kind of rude, actually.
He just calls her witch.
So then she asks Kratos to go get some flowers in the garden. Atreus is outside being sad because he can't cut the roots because he lost his hunting knife.
And he gets super upset.
Kratos returns the knife to him, so it's okay.
Because he needs it to cut the roots.
They give the witch the ingredients. She manages to save the boar. She gives them a protection rune on their necks as thanks, and then tells them about the shortcut under the house to get out of here. And she also gives them food, so that's nice.
Mm-hmm. And she looks at him funky. The quote I have is, "Why did she look at him that way? What was it about her expression that had taken over his..."
I like that your notes say chapter 8 and it's just Brock. That's all that mattered in this chapter.
We met Brock and his, which I wrote down the name of his, it's like a camel or whatever.
It's a camel thing that he calls fucking gratitude.
Yes, because he doesn't have a name, and Atreus is like, you should ask him for it, and he's like, how about I just call him fucking gratitude? So back to chapter 13. There's an underground passage that I felt like took us freaking forever in the game to get through, and it's like, oh look, there's a boat.
Yeah, there's a rowboat.
We had to like undo all these chests, and
yeah,
it took forever, and like we kept getting lost because it's the different passageways, but like it was the fastest thing ever in this book.
It was. You have to go back here though, I believe. So a lot of this game is like you going to an area and then realizing you can't do a bunch of stuff here, and that means you're gonna have to come back to it once your like axe is upgraded or some stuff, or Atreus gets a new little string for his bow.
Yeah, so except for like the ferry place.
Yeah, you never go back to Alfheim after, really. Anyway, so they find a boat underground. They're rowing away. Kratos asks about the gods. Atreus tells him about Odin.
I like how Kratos is like, it's the sea, can't you smell it? And then he's like, what? And then he's like, oh yeah, Atreus has never been to the sea.
Sad. Little homebody. Oh. They floated into seawater. They saw a Thor statue and a king statue with runes and a shield that said, throw your weapons into the water.
And they're like, all right, well, I can retrieve my weapon, so I'm just going to toss it in. And then he tries to...
Yeah, they didn't want to anger the gods, so they decided to do that. But Kratos tried to boomerang it back, right?
It don't come back.
He's like, oh no.
And then there's a rumble.
The world serpent is here. It's huge. That's like the coolest part of the whole game, I gotta say.
Yeah, the
giant snake coming out of the water, really cool. He gives Kratos back his axe, just spits it at him.
Yeah.
Tooey.
And he tries to talk to him, and they're like, nope, don't know that language.
Yeah, they move on to the temple. The big serpent displaced the water so they can see more stuff. They also don't speak whale, giant serpent.
Is this where he eats the statue, too?
Not yet.
Okay. I mean, it's just been taking a, like, nap in the bottom of the sea.
You think he would eat the statue right when he wakes up, but no, we have to wait until we come back. They found Brock when they opened the temple doors, and they're, like, confused as to how he got there so fast.
Oh, so the world serpent is Loki's son, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And according to this book, he got teleported from the future into the past.
Well, his time is
Thor?
Backwards. So him and Thor are like mortal enemies, and they fight in Ragnarok.
This might be a spoiler for the next game, but I'm really excited for this snake to eat Thor.
So in Ragnarok, the world serpent and Thor are gonna go at it, and so during that battle, he like hits him so hard that he goes back in time. So
which is not actually what happens.
Yeah, no, they make a comment later on that they're like, the world serpent knows what's going on because his past is.
They just wanted to put the world serpent in this game without. So I think that's why they made up the BS about it being from the future and goes back in time. Yeah, so Brock's in this temple.
So there's 7. So once the water goes down, they can see that there's 7 towers.
Yes.
But one is missing.
Yeah, the Jotunheim one.
And then I also wrote
Jotunheim.
You mentioned Brock shows up. So there's like a tower in the middle, and there's a bridge that will move to each of these different towers. And Brock just shows up wherever. He's like already there. Like
already-
it
he'd
came out of the
already set
water
up,
and he's
he's
like,
ready
this
to
is
go."
mine. I claim it. Y'all can suck it. And Atreus is like, you have any more food?
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
He always gives Atreus food, though. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Kratos is still not letting Atreus hold those ashes because
No.
he didn't want to let go of his wife. But then Atreus is like, well, she means more to me than to you.
Yeah, you were always gone, Dad.
Dad. Duh. Kratos is pissed. And Atreus is like, oh shit.
They brought up the fact that he has been there for 50 years later on in the book.
Who?
Him and they were together for 50 years.
What?
Yeah. It's in my
50
notes.
50 years?
So, but I'm like,
there's no way.
Atreus is like talking smack of like, you were always gone. But I'm like, you're 11. Like, they were together for 39 years before you showed up.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. I thought this was like a shotgun wedding.
No.
Who officiated their wedding?
The Falcon.
The Falcon.
Because he like doesn't know anyone else who lives anywhere near them.
Yeah, I know. So it was like, how are they married? Who officiated it? The dwarves? No, because Kratos never saw them before.
No, I don't know them.
Okay, anyway, the boys are fighting. The boys are mad because they're trying to decide who loves their mom the most, but they got over it in their brains, so it's
and
okay.
they're like, so their task is the mom wanted them to take her ashes to the highest point to scatter them together. So that's why they're on this adventure and journey. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, look, a mountain.
That mountain looks pretty high. That must be the one she's talking about.
That's it.
They keep walking. They come across Brock's brother, Sindri.
Who is a germaphobe.
He's a germaphobe.
But he's got weird things in his bag for being a germaphobe.
Sindri is like, hey, why do you have that axe? We made it for a really cool lady and not you. And Atreus is like, oh, that's my mom's axe. She's dead. This is my dad.
Yeah, and he's like, let me touch your axe.
And yeah, so Sindri upgrades the axe. Sindri's also trying to fix this gondola lift so they can bring down rare supplies from this mine that's up at this mountaintop. Yeah, and then they went into a temple. There's an ogre.
I like the... Is it the ogre or the troll?
I put ogre.
Are you on 16?
I'm on 15, and then I'm going to 16.
So there's also a quote in 15, the man that walks his own road walks alone. I was like, that's cool.
I guess. What does that mean?
When you do your own thing.
Then you are alone?
Gotta do it by yourself.
When you're alone, you're alone.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
Ogre's fighting Kratos. Calling him names. Atreus shoots him, and then the ogre goes after Atreus, and then he's intercepted by Kratos, who bites him.
You gotta use what you got.
I mean, the ogre bites Kratos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Atreus grabs his hunting knife and stabs it in the eyeballs, and then Hellwalkers are coming to see what the battle's going on. They're like, who's gonna win? I'll fight them. They decide instead of fighting these Hellwalkers, they're gonna dip. And then they close the door to this temple, and they decide... Wait, I already said that. As they walk, a stinky fog comes rolling in. It's smelly.
It's like
stinky,
black.
It's black. They don't like it. Atreus is like, man, I wish the witch was here. Mm-hmm. And then, boom, there she is. She's here. And she's like, oh, that's stinky fog? That's the black breath, which is a perfect name for a stinky fog.
Yes. And so it doesn't describe it in this chapter, but the fog, you can see it from afar, is coming from, like, there's a face in the mountain, and it's coming from its mouth and nose.
Pretty metal.
But, like, you don't get that till you come back to the mountain.
That's like, true.
I feel like that would have been a
good image to see. So yeah, she's like, in order to stop this stinky breath from emanating from the mountain, you're gonna have to go to a new realm. So follow me.
Say Alfheim. But like, she shows up and they're like, hey, did you see Sindri? And she's like, what?
Yeah, because they're gonna use the gondola, and Atreus is like, we can't use the gondola, it's busted. Sindri was gonna fix it, and she's like, who are you talking about? Like the dwarf down there? And she's like, oh, I didn't see
no dwarf.
So I mean, but I guess they must have fixed the gondola because it's working. I'm assuming
she does her little, like, magic weed trick, and like the vines come off of it.
Yeah, but she said that dwarves are crafty and must have fixed it. So maybe it's a combination effort. When they get to their location, the witch shows them how to activate
Tears Temple,
the light bridges with elf magic.
She's got a little bit of light left in her. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. For a second, because I can only open one door. because you have to go to Alfheim to get the light.
Hellwalkers are coming. The boys took them out. Whatever. It's a sentence. They go to Tyr's temple and they to fast travel to different realms.
Yeah. So Tyr's temple is the bridge part that's in the middle of the giant lake. It has the bridge attached to it. There is the Bifrost, which is the light. If you've seen Thor, it's the rainbow bridge thing. But
then the Bifrost in this game is just a lantern
crystal, yeah,
with crystals in it.
and so she writes the ruin to go to the land of the elves.
Honestly, this lady describing how to play this video game with the Bifrost and the light bridges and they get the different items and the all the game stuff that you have to go do.
Yes, all the
was like the worst read. This chapter was like, ugh, trying to explain to me game mechanics.
Yes. She's like, you're gonna need to refill this lantern.
Yeah.
So, and you can also like put your bow in there, kid, and that will do cool things. But
yeah, they need the light of Elfheim, and attach it to Atreus' bow. The witch can't go with them because the gods made it, so she has to stay in Midgard.
And she's like, so she goes in there and she's like, I don't know how long this is going to last. And then they're fighting things because there's dark elves attacking them. And then she's like trying to tell Kratos all of these things that he needs to know. I'm like, but if you knew you couldn't leave Midgard.
Yeah, I was surprised she was still with them.
She was like talking the whole time.
When they moved to, so they put the Bifrost in, they put this lantern with the crystal, you put it in your little like slot, and then your whole bridge room moves, in case you haven't played this game and you don't know what we're talking about. This whole room moves, and then this like gate opens up, and now you can go to the different realm of
it's attached to the bridge. The bridge turns, and then you go to whatever gate to go to the different worlds.
So now they're in that world, and the lady's like still talking about stuff they need to do.
She's like, this is super important.
Even though she just told them that she can't stay here, she just thought she would test fate, I guess, and see how long she could stay there.
But it's like, tell them all this stuff first, and then be like, we'll see how this goes.
Honestly, not a big fan of this witch lady, to be honest with you. She kind of sucks. She gets spirited away. Very dramatically. She gets disintegrated.
She gets, like, sucked out of there, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, don't get caught up in the blue.
Yeah.
And then she disintegrates.
Which I still don't know. I don't get, like, what she was trying to tell them.
Yeah, I don't know what she was trying to tell them either. Don't get caught up in the war between the elves.
But honestly, the Dark Elves kind of suck, so
yeah, it's weird. There's this, that also scene is weird. Okay. We're in Alfheim.
It is the elves. There's a war between the light and the dark fairies.
The Heim of elves. Don't eat the cat.
Oh.
Yeah, so witch is gone. They're heading to the giant light shaft yonder.
And Atreus hears voices.
Yes, he does. And Kratos doesn't care at first.
Yeah, it's like he's like, can't you hear them? And he's like, what are you talking about? And then war that I really liked Alfheim.
Yeah.
Like, it was different than all the other lands, and it like looked cool, looked swampy.
It does look cool. Very, very elf.
Very Rivendell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a war between the light elves and the dark elves, and the dark elves just start attacking them, and they dip the dark elves. And then they grab reinforcements.
They like see a beautiful like light elf, and then it just gets destroyed by it's like not even defending itself.
It's just standing there.
Yeah, and they say, war has made a beautiful land ugly, which I think is true for all wars.
It's true. They got a boat. They're heading down the river now. Atreus is hearing voices, and then he hears too many voices, and he starts screaming.
Yes. It's all too much. All the pain.
But it ends really quickly because the voices fade. And then they see a temple. The light bridge went away. Oh no. They put something on the magical light crystal. We gotta do light crystal puzzles now.
Yeah, I think I didn't write that much about this because it was not very descriptive.
It's very confusing.
Couldn't tell what was going on.
I kind of remember this level.
I remember. You had to go on the boat to get everywhere, and it was hard to navigate.
And then when you park your boat, and then you get off, and then Atreus has to shoot the bridges for you to walk across, and they're getting attacked by dark elves, And then there's ones with horns that show up that scream to attract more of them. There's like one, I think the one with a horn is like the king of the Dark Elves or something like that.
Or
They
they're,
beat
like,
the elves.
generals or something like that.
They make it to the temple. They're solving the light bridge puzzles. And then there's a hive of bugs. They plan on destroying it. Turns out that the bugs are dark elves.
Yeah.
They're like bug-like creatures that are all like in this.
They're trying to darken the light.
Little amalgamation of gross bug creatures. They're feeding on it.
Yeah.
Feeding on the light. They destroy it. They're like, we gotta destroy this dark elf hive. It's super gross. And they do.
Oh, they like shoved a knife into one of the dark elves' foreheads too. I'm like, how do you do that?
I don't know.
Like that's a hard bone in your forehead.
Really sharp knives. Because the dark elves are all around the light that they need.
Yeah, they're like, we need a sampling.
Yeah, excuse me, dark elves.
Yeah.
Like, get out of the way. So yeah, they're like climbing up on the hive, and then they like blow it up, and Atreus falls pretty hard, but he's fine. He can hear his mom's voice in the magic light that they just unfolded because they blew up all the dark elves that were around the light.
Mm-hmm.
He sticks his hand in the light and it burns him. And then Kratos decides, I'm gonna go into the light to get the magic light that we need for the Bifrost.
Yeah.
So he's in the light shaft. He just
like,
walks in.
hold my axe. So Atreus has his axe.
Atreus is just gonna sit there and wait. Kratos sees his wife when he's in the light. And Atreus is talking about how he wishes that Kratos was the one who died.
Yeah, he's like, he sees like the inner thoughts of his son or whatever.
Yeah, so he's in this dark light and he sees his son and his wife and...
Like, he's never here.
They do the same stuff in Helheim.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing. Anyway, time is dragging on and Atreus is getting bored sitting outside.
Dude, Kratos is gone for a full day. Like, in the game, you don't know how long you're gone because you're Kratos. And... like, when you do finally come back, Atreus is like, you were gone. You left
like
me.
Days.
You were gone.
Yeah.
Like, too long. But they don't tell you how long.
That's kind of a cool moment.
Yeah.
And I know that this one shows you, like, Atreus' POV, this book, while this is happening. But I kind of liked it better when you didn't know and you showed up and Atreus is, like, freaking out and is like, oh, I can't believe this. But anyway, so Atreus is bored. He sees a pair of ravens. Atreus is worried. He tried to fall asleep. He woke up. Kratos is still gone. It's been a whole day. Dark elves are now in the temple. Kratos is taking so long that Atreus now has to fight the dark elves alone.
It's like a pile of them, too.
And Atreus has to pull Kratos out of the light with his hands or whatever. Just grabs him, just pulls him out. And yes.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because he's, like, super pissed.
Yeah, he's like, you took me away from my wife.
Yeah, but then, like, Atreus is like, you left me. And do you think that Atreus is mad that he left him for so long? Or that the axe didn't come back to Atreus? Like, Atreus tried to boomerang it and it didn't happen. And he's like...
I think that it's...
stupid axe.
Well, he's probably also mad about that. I'm assuming he's mad because he left him and he has to fight all these dark elves by himself because he tries.
Yeah. He did a good job.
Yeah. There's, like... the first thing Kratos says when he comes back is, where's my axe? And Atreus is like, you not worried about me?
Mm-hmm.
You're worried about your stupid effing axe? Idiot. I hate you, Dad.
Get ready for the teenage angst. It's coming.
Yeah, so he's like, where's my axe? Atreus is pissed. His dad doesn't care about him. Because he doesn't. Sorry.
Not really.
Luckily, Kratos
I think he's like scared of him because of his past. And
yeah,
like,
he doesn't want him to die. That's all he cares about. He only cares about him when he's injured.
Yeah.
Or in danger. Other than that, he's freaking annoyed at him all the time and pissed off at his decisions. Kratos is a bad father. Terrible. Anyway, Kratos did get the Bifrost crystal light
could
thing.
Be Odin. Yes.
So, could be Odin, yes.
Or Thor.
Thor's also very bad.
Awful.
Any of the Norse gods are bad dads.
The Dark Elf, is this the Dark Elf King comes and he calls them oppressors. Like, as he's dying. So
they make Atreus' bowstring light so they can do light bridges now.
Yeah.
The horned Dark Elf King comes back to fight them. They kill it, and he's like, you made a mistake. The light elves are the oppressors. And then he died. But, like, no one cares, because...
Also, it doesn't seem that way.
It doesn't seem that way, and the light elves were not attacking us.
Yeah.
Them... The dark elves just automatically thought that they were enemies and started attacking them. Honestly, Kratos and Atreus wouldn't even have fought them if they didn't attack them first.
True. They're just like, coming to the light.
So, that was, I know that was like trying to be a twist to be like
It just didn't make any sense.
You're the monsters.
Like, the side quest you had to do too, like the light elves just got like super killed like all the time. So, but I mean, we don't know what they were doing to the dark elves. We are told from Freya that they switch every so often, like the dark elves and then the light elves rule.
But it doesn't matter because we're never coming back. So interrupt internal politics and then dip.
Yep. Don't shoot at us first.
Atreus tries to talk about his mom in the light. He's like, so did you see her in the light? Huh? Mm-hmm. Did you see her? Huh? And Kratos is getting pissy about it for some reason. Is he getting pissy about it because he heard his son's internal thoughts about how he wishes that he died
Kratos was dead instead? I guess we don't know. We didn't get that.
Back to Midgard.
Midgard.
We put our thing in the slot. It turns. We're back in Midgard. Mm-hmm. They fast traveled. Brock's there and he upgrades the axe again. Anyway, they're gonna go back to the Black Breath.
They go into the mountain.
Kratos still won't let Atreus hold his mom ashes. He's not ready.
There's like a statue of a man with antlers.
Yeah, there's a giant with a deer head, and Atreus is like, I don't know any giants in Norse mythology with a deer head. This is weird.
And then isn't Kratos like, he's not a giant, like he's not very tall, and then
he's like, haha, you ignorant fool, Dad! You ignorant fool!
Giants,
they're not actually like giants.
Giant people.
Dumbass.
Giants are complicated, is the quote. And they're not big. But in the mountain, there's bodies everywhere, and they say that it's thieves that are seeking treasure. And then we see wolvers, which are wolf-like creatures. The statue of the man with the antlers is Durapor?
I don't know how to write down. I didn't care enough because it never comes up again.
He is one of the 4 stags of the World Tree, and his job was to safeguard the entrance of Jotunheim.
So they're like in this. Are they in a temple? Where
this is the mine.
Freak are they? They saw lit torches, and they're like, "Who lit these?
Yeah,
who lit these torches?"
I don't think they ever tell us either. Well, there's people in there, right?
Yeah, they solve mind puzzles. I remember this. This has to do with that big boulder.
Yes. There's like an elevator that's broken, and like
there's broken lanterns, and Atreus thinks that it's special for some reason. Don't know why.
It was like there's a prayer next to one of them, and so he does a prayer for his mom.
They get attacked by cat worms. Cat-like worms, if you will. While they try to solve mind puzzles, Atreus finds an unbroken lantern with a letter as Giant's prayer. Atreus decides to write his own prayer on the piece of paper, and on their way back up from the mine, because they managed to move a rock, and they get on the mining elevator, and they go up.
Atreus says, something feels strange up there, like we are heading into danger.
They get attacked by a dragon.
But
it left, so we'll worry about it later.
Oh, Sindri is being attacked by the dragon.
Yeah, so they made it up. So they see the dragon. They're like, oh no, we're getting attacked by a dragon. And the dragon dips, and they're like, okay, well, I guess we'll worry about this later. And then they make it up.
And they're like,
they see Sindri screaming and hiding behind a rock, and they're like, I guess we're dealing with this dragon now. They fight the dragon.
Very quickly kill this dragon.
So quick. It wasn't even like a full page.
No.
And then Sindri's like, wow, you saved me
No one's killed a dragon in forever.
Oh, you must really love me.
Yes.
You saved me from a dragon. And Kratos like, don't say that. We don't like you.
Yeah.
I just did it for the boy.
He's
not like I like you or anything,
way.
Baka. I just need to get past. It's not about you. Stop making everything about you, Sindri.
Well, Sindri has a present.
Yes. He opens his Mary Poppins bag.
He pulls out some gross stuff.
Pulls out a bunch of stuff. He's like, here's some mistletoe arrows. And Atreus is like, ew, this is it? This is all you're gonna give me for saving me from the dragon? I'm ungrateful as hell. And he's like, okay, like, wait, let me find something else. He's like, can you get me that dragon's tooth? BRB. So he does. He actually doesn't give them anything else because he can't find anything.
Yeah.
So he gives up and is like, give me that dragon tooth. I have another idea. He cracks it open. Some blue dust comes out of it.
Blue goo.
He puts it on Atreus' bowstring, and he's like, now you can make crystals explode. Isn't that radical as hell? And Atreus is like, whatever.
Yeah. Let's get up this mountain.
Did you give me lame mistletoe arrows, but you also just make crystals go boom? This is such a lame gift, Sindri. I'm out. And Sindri's like, hey, warning, I saw Odin up there at the peak, so watch out.
Watch yourself.
So they engineer the summit. They hear Balder. and the sons of Thor
He's
are
alive.
chatting about where Kratos and Atreus are.
Which is like, turn around. They're right there.
And then they wait until they leave, and then they go to the top of the summit, and they run into Mimir.
Who is a man.
Goat man.
In a tree, right?
Yeah, he's all tangled up in a tree. He's apparently the smartest man alive, but not smart enough to get out of the tree. So
he has daily conversations with Odin.
Yeah, Odin comes by to torture him all the time because he doesn't like him. Took out his eye. He only has one eye.
So isn't Mimir, like, if I remember my Norse mythology, doesn't he, like, involved with the well thing, right? The well of knowledge or whatever it is.
I believe so, yeah.
So, like, Mimir knows everything. But, like, conveniently in this book forgets.
So forgets everything.
Like,
so,
everything.
Yeah.
He's got
Odin
sparkly eyes.
He knows everything, so...
Mimir tells him that they're on the wrong mountain. He's like, turn to your left.
Your princess is in another castle, dude. It's in Jotunheim?
Yeah, you gotta go to Jotunheim. That's the giant place, and that's where the highest peak is. And they're like, crap.
They're like, we can't get to Jotunheim, so, like, should we just do it here?
And
then he's
the
like...
The gate's missing.
He's like, no, I can help you get there. You gotta cut off my head first, though.
First, you need to cut off my head. And then you need to find someone to revive me.
Yeah.
I feel like you should find someone to revive him first and then cut off his head.
He just wanted to die. He's like, Odin torturing me is the
He's
worst.
like, this sucks. I've been standing in this tree forever.
So they do that. They cut off his head, and they're gonna go to the witch in the woods.
Well, before he, like, chops off his head, like, he has more dialogue. He's like, get ready to chop off my head. And then, like, he's still talking to Kratos while he's, like, holding the axe up in the air, like, about his son. And, like, he's, like, waiting forever to chop off his head. He's just holding the axe up there because he's like, I have important information to tell you. Again, wait until, like, tell him before you have them do something. He says the longer you delay telling the boy his true nature, the more damage you do.
Which I honestly don't think that's true.
I think that they're talking about, like, why he gets sick, which was kind of confusing. It's like a fighting of his nature.
So they're always like, you gotta tell this kid that he's a god. And I'm like...
Or and who you are. And it's like, Kratos is like, mind your business.
Yeah, like, I'm on Kratos' side with that one. Because I'm like, really? Does he need to know that? Is it really a helpful thing to know?
I think when he gets sick, part of that is because he doesn't know who he is, and it's like his body's fighting him, but it was kind of a weak point.
Will he get less sick if he knows who he is?
Yeah.
Like, that's so...
Because that's why they say why
metaphorical.
He's sick. Yeah.
I don't know who I am as a person, so I have asthma attacks sometimes. I don't understand.
You could be a god. If you have asthma attacks, it's because you could be a god, and you have not accepted that part of yourself.
I haven't accepted it. That sounds like old medicine stuff where they're like, just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself and you'll stop having asthma attacks.
Choose happiness, Savannah.
Throw that inhaler in the trash and believe.
It takes them 3 days to get back to the witch.
Yes.
So they have this, he has this head in, like, a bag on his belt for 3 days.
Meanwhile, in the game, it takes you 3 minutes.
Yeah. He's like, hey, Atreus, I don't remember how to get back there. Do you remember? And he's like, of course.
Atreus is really good at remembering things.
He is. Because he's young. That's what happened.
Atreus got to pick up the slack. He's got to do all the puzzles.
Yeah.
He's got to remember all of the stuff.
How do
He's got to
anywhere?
Speak to everybody.
He's
Why
the
am I playing as Kratos?
Ultimate companion.
All he does is throw axes and be grumpy.
Ooh, and punch people.
Yeah, so they got his head off. They're gonna go to the witch. They got to the witch.
She brings the head back to life and then spits on him.
Yeah, they show up because they thought the witch died when she disintegrated.
They're like, I hope she's here.
So they run in and they don't see anybody and they're like, oh my gosh, she's dead. And then she's like, no, I'm not. I'm right here. I'm just sitting here.
Hello?
Twiddling my thumbs. They're like, oh, good. Can you bring back this head? And also, the witch saw the mistletoe arrows that Atreus had. And she's like, whoa.
Freaked out.
Whoa.
Promise me.
Before I reanimate this head, you gotta throw those away. She grabs them. She, like, throws them in a fire. She's like, if you see any more of those, destroy them. Okay, let's bring this head back to life.
All right, let me create this, like, bubble bath to submerge this head into. And then he's like, I'm back. And she's like, ew, it's you. I'm like, did you not realize who this head was?
She just wanted to spit in his face. They know each other, and we find out that she's Freya, a goddess and Odin's wife, ex-wife.
So this is where, like,
What?
they are a little loosey-goosey with the Norse mythology. Because Odin does have a wife,
Freya or Frigg.
Frigg.
Frigg and Freya are
Sometimes
the same.
sometimes they are the same, sometimes they're not.
They're the same.
There's
They're
not
the
a lot
same.
of ladies in Norse mythology.
Norse mythology is super whack because nobody can read the stuff, and the stuff we can read is jumbled and garbled.
And a lot of it has come since, like, Christianity was introduced to the Norse.
So a lot of it's a lie, brought to you by the Christian.
Yeah, so some of it's been tampered with. But Freya she's not Asgardian. She's part of the Vanir.
Part of the Vanir.
Which is another subspecies of gods, and they are at war. And so in order to end that war, and she's a brother too, they have some cool tools. Like, didn't she have that cape that was like she can fly?
To be honest with you, I don't know much about Frigg over here.
Oh,
so
Frigg is like not mentioned very often, but besides the fact that she's the wife of Odin, and she is the mother of Thor and Balder.
Thor?
Not Freya, Frigg.
Freya and Frigg are the same person.
Not always.
They have to be. I 100%, in my interpretation of what I've read from Norse mythology, they're the same freaking person.
Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're different. Sometimes you have Freya and Frigg in the same story.
Damn. Know yourself.
Yeah.
That's how you become a true god. Believe in yourself. I didn't know that was the message of God of War. It's just to believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself.
You're the god of your own.
But don't be a dick about it.
Anyway, Kratos is pissed that she didn't mention that
she never introduced herself, that she was a god. That she knows Odin and what's up.
But honestly, she's like, you're not the one to lecture me on that, Kratos, God of War.
Yeah, so he
Sparta.
like storms out of there and is like, I'm not having none of this. And
honestly, I side with her a little bit because I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, she kept some things concealed, but he also didn't want anyone in his business. She doesn't want anyone in her business, so...
Fair enough. They're very similar.
But Atreus is like, are you mad at her because she's a god? And because he says we can't trust her. And
trust no god.
And
trust no god.
Kratos says, no, she lied. And then we're back at Tyr's temple.
Yeah, Mimir's like, give me Tyr's temple. Mimir also wants to talk to the world serpent.
Yeah, he's the only one that knows the lingo, so...
So they get in their boat. When they dock, they run into Brock. Who's eating...
like a turkey leg.
Yeah, he's eating like a turkey leg. And then they share food, and then it turns out that was fucking gratitude.
Yeah.
So... her
milk dried up. She's no longer useful.
Yep.
So we ate her.
He also upgrades the axe. Atreus, and honestly, Kratos is also kind of grossed out by it.
Yeah.
He's pretty upset. I'm surprised that Kratos cares, to be honest. I get why Atreus would care, but Kratos is like, I'm not eating this anymore.
He's like, that was like your companion. Chapter 32, I have conversations with world serpents.
Yeah. They took Mimir to this giant horn and he blew it. And before the serpent comes over to talk to them, he decides to get up and eat half of Thor's statue. And Mimir's like, that checks with his personality. He hates Thor.
They are enemies.
This is what he's gonna do to him in the next video game that comes out. Okay, Serpent comes on over after eating, and he talks to Mimir, asking the Serpent about Jotunheim.
He's like, you're gonna need a couple things.
Serpent tells them they need a special chisel.
In order to put a rune in the door.
Yes.
To open it.
And they need to learn the secret of the black rune inside Tyr's temple.
Mm-hmm.
And then the snake pushes the bridge in the direction of the chisel. Very nice.
Yes.
The snake.
But now we're in the cold place, and Atreus is like, it's freezing now. This doesn't seem right.
We're not in the cold place yet, because the snake says more things. The snake is like, this little boy, I've seen this little boy before.
Oh, that's when he tells him that his future is the snake.
Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, he's from the future, so he might have seen you before. Mimir says that nobody knows where the giants went. Odin wants to get to Jotunheim because he thinks the giants might help him in Ragnarok because the giants can see the future.
Because Ragnarok, for those of you that don't know, is like the end of the...
Everyone knows what Ragnarok is.
Some people might not.
Who doesn't? It's like in everything all the time. I can't look it up without seeing a bunch of different... it's so irritating. I was trying to look up the other day who dies in Ragnarok, and they gave me the freaking movie. And I was like, I don't want that. Magic chisel. They're gonna go
Like,
get it
everyone
from the
dies in
giant
Ragnarok. Yeah.
who was not everyone. Not everyone dies in Ragnarok. I think Thor's sons who make it.
Well, not in this game.
Not in this game.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
technically in Norse mythology, like you die, you go to hell, and then like hell can let you come back.
If you are a warrior.
Yeah, or you go to Asgard.
Yeah, but then if Ragnarok happens, you're not going to Asgard because Ragnarok was made to make
destroy,
warriors
yeah.
for Ragnarok. So if Ragnarok, you die in Ragnarok, you don't. Can you not?
No, but also like so you can go to hell, who controls, and like she can let you out.
She can.
But like the whole thing with in Norse mythology, when Balder dies, like she's like, I'll let him out, but you gotta find you gotta ask everyone if they're okay with that, and then they get to a giant, and the giant's like,
Assuming if you die in Ragnarok, you're just done.
Yeah,
you're not going
Ragnarok's
to either
the
of them.
end.
So they're going to go get the chisel from this giant. It's an ice giant. It's an actual giant.
The Mirror, who
wants to build a wall around Jotunheim, but he got stopped by Thor, who just loved killing giants.
Yes, Thor is awful.
Their boat stopped. They're rowing it by a frozen lake, and then they see that the giant that was frozen, he fell in a small village and he froze it with his breath.
And everyone died.
They're like, the chisel's probably under the ice, but it's actually in the giant's head.
Wasn't it under? Or no? Because this is where
This is confusing.
They rode the thing
so they're
under
like,
the ice.
We need to get under the ice, but the chisel is in the giant's head. So is the giant's head under the ice? I don't know.
It was just like sitting up top.
They get
from what I
attacked by
remember.
wolves.
Yeah.
Don't think about it too hard. They also see Sindri in the distance. Yeah. They're like, what's he doing here?
He's everywhere.
Kratos decides to go to the top of the ice giant's hammer, and he's hoping it'll fall.
He's like, I have a plan.
And break the ice so that they can go down. And they rode the hammer down.
Which was a cool thing in the game.
To get to the head of the giant, which I don't remember that being a thing, but that's fine. They hear a voice. It's Magni, Thor's son, who heard the hammer fall. He's like, someone's here.
Like he's talking to his brother.
Modi. So Magni and Modi are there too. They're trying to sneak past them, but they failed. And they saw... Can you imagine them talking about them? They're like, where's Kratos and Atreus? And they just walk into their POV. They're like, there they are. And then they run away. Magni and Modi. They're like,
the ice is too unsettled. We can't, like, we're going to lose this battle.
So they dip. We'll deal with them later. Kratos and Atreus continue. There's a dining hall and a throne room. I don't really know where we are or what happened. They rode a hammer down and now they're in like a
This was temple. The one where it was like, you had to get one thing out of the wall to, like, swing it to the other side to, like, break it open. That's the only thing I remember about this place.
I'm going to believe you because I don't remember this at all.
And there was wolves.
I know that Magni and Modi were waiting in the wings. Apparently their uncle wants Kratos and Atreus back alive. They do say that.
That would be Balder.
Magni came riding in on an ogre.
That was cool.
I do remember that in the game. He rides in on an ogre, and then he snaps his neck, and then Modi just drops down from the side. Kratos is trying to take them both, and Atreus is just trying to keep Modi off of him, because Modi is like, your mom's a whore, you're stupid, I hate you, kid. He has a thing for Atreus. He really wants to kill him. He hates him so much.
He's just a kid.
For no reason. I don't get it, because he was talking to Magni beforehand, and he was like, I'm gonna take out the kid. Let me take out the kid. Magni's like, why? We've taken him back alive. I'm like, what? Who cares about the kid, dude? Chill out about the kid.
And then Atreus gets, like, super mad.
Yeah, because he calls mom a whore.
Yep.
And he went bananas. And that threw off Magni, who was like, whoa, I didn't expect this kid to go freaking ape shit at my brother. Just long enough that Kratos just killed Magni. Super fast.
Well, they asked for it, so...
And Modi's like, oh my god, I can't believe this. My brother died. And then he ran away. And then Atreus has an asthma attack.
He's coughing up blood. Mimir is telling him stories to try to keep him awake. He says, we gotta take him to Freya. She'll know what to do.
And Kratos doesn't have any other options, so he's like, sure, let's do this. Mimir decides to tell Atreus about Odin and tries to keep him awake. Just
the
basic
Lord
knowledge.
of the Hanged.
Basic knowledge. He thinks he can change his fate. He hung himself. over the well to get the knowledge.
For
Lost
9
the
days,
eye.
so that he could read the runes.
They park the boat. They hear a horn. They hear someone's trying to call the world serpent. And they're like, who is trying to call the world serpent? That's weird. Anyway, they make it to Freya's. Freya's like, oh my gosh, I can't save him unless we have this dude from Helheim's heart.
She says the boy's true nature, your true nature, fights within him, and that's why he's sick.
So he's having a god attack.
And they have to go to Matiger Helsen, which they'll find in Helheim.
Kratos did apologize to Freya before he left, though, so...
Character growth. Character development.
It took so many games to get there. He takes Freya's boat, and he goes off to Helheim.
And, we get...
Well, actually back to his house first.
Yeah, he's got to go gear up. Freya, he's like, is the boy going to be safe with you? And she's like, I'll protect him. That's a mother's promise.
I wonder how long Kratos is gone for. If he has to go all the way back to his freaking house, and then also to Helheim...
Yeah, I feel like that's a long time.
That's a long time.
Especially when it took him 3 days to get
to her house from the summit.
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes back to his house, lickety split, and he pulls out the chain blades of chaos.
He's got to unwrap his arms.
He does his God of War shtick.
And there,
because Helheim is cold, and they were like, "Man, it's gonna be really cold there." And he's like, "Well, I have fire blades, so
I'm equipped.
I know what I'm doing."
And then it always feels like somebody's watching me. Could that be Athena?
Oh yeah, I just skipped that part because I don't care.
It was really dumb because she just like...
She's like, you're stupid and
he's like,
dumb, Kratos.
Quit haunting me. You think you could hide?
She just shows up and
from us?
Insults him and then leaves.
She like stands behind his boat and just like mugs him. Mean mugs him. What you doing?
Yeah, I said he's thinking about the previous God of War games and how he's trying to be a good guy with his god powers since he can't be a free guy with his god powers.
Jarring memories of his tortured past plastered across his mind.
Athena calls him a monster and Mimir's like, I knew you were Greek.
No, he said Athena and he's like, haha, I know that name.
Yeah, so Kratos heads back. He runs into Brock, who is a big fan of those Blades of Chaos. He's like, those are sick. Can I upgrade them?
This is chapter 37 is when his blades were under the house for 50 years.
Oh, wow, damn. Okay.
Yeah.
The bridge is already lined up for Helheim. So off he goes. Now we're in Helheim.
For a chapter.
Helheim is super fucking cold.
There's a bridge.
Gotta go to the Bridge of the Damned. That's where the
can't go across it though.
Is. No, because then you're actually dead. He sees the dead walk in the wrong direction.
And Mimir is like, hell must be closed.
Yeah, hell must be closed. It must not let anyone in. Hell must be full.
Can hell be full?
Yes.
And he says the reason why the gates are closed is because the Valkyries are missing. They're not bringing people across.
So maybe
he's like, Odin, what did you do?
Always Odin's fault.
This one actually is Odin's fault. So there in the game, you can go free all the Valkyries. They're hard as anything to kill.
They're very hard.
Because you have to like kill them to like release their spirit because you trap them into human form, and that's like a big no-no.
Yeah.
And then there's like a council of like 12 or whatever it was. Do you remember going that place?
Kill all 12 of them. They see the bridge keeper. Kratos goes in for the kill. He takes the guy's heart. He feels kind of bad about it.
Yeah. He's like, I just need your heart, but you gotta die.
Yeah.
He's like, is there gonna be any consequences for me killing the gatekeeper to hell?
And Mir's like, nah, probably not.
It was also stupid fast fight too. He's like, hit, dead, heart, done.
All right, we're done. And also, he's having apparitions of... He's seeing his dad, Zeus.
Zeus speaks to him, and Mimir says it's an illusion by hell to torture the inhabitants.
We're back in Midgard.
Back to Midgard.
Kratos went back to Freya's house. Kratos has to tell Atreus the truth in order to get him to be better, I guess.
And he is telling Freya that Atreus is cursed.
Freya explains that she had a son. She hurt too, and don't make the same mistakes that she made. So, yeah, he's like, well, he's cursed. And Atreus woke up, and Atreus is pretty mad that his dad thinks he's cursed.
Yeah.
But they're gonna dip. They're gonna head to Tyr's house to get that rune. They got the chisel.
Yeah.
Before he had that
when
asthma attack. Kratos told him the truth, that he is a god from another land. So Atreus is also a god, demigod,
Oh, so I made a note because Atreus, the first thing Atreus asks is like, "Can I turn into animals?"
And Kratos thought that was cute.
He's like, "What? I don't know what your powers are. You got to reach
Maybe
a certain age." But
he can.
he can, according to mythology.
Yes. So that's
we'll
kind of
spoil
funny.
that later.
Atreus is pretty excited about it, although he's confused as to why he gets sick.
I think we all are.
Yeah, same Atreus. Atreus asks about those blades of chaos, and Kratos is like, I want to talk about it. They're in Tyr's house.
Before your time.
Tyr was the god of war. He tried to stop war, though, and everyone loved him. They think
He's
that
a cool
he helped
dude.
the giants go into hiding. And anyway, they're in this puzzle room. They see the black stone, but when they get close, there's like a 3-ring barrier that goes around the stone. And the Draugr attacks them, and then they kill them, and then they solve puzzles.
And then they go into the treasury below, and Kratos steals some wine, and then he sees a vase, and he's like, "Oh, all these stuff look Grecian," and then he's like, "Wait, that's me."
Yeah, it's him up on top of a bunch of dead bodies.
And so he breaks it.
Yeah, and Atreus comes over and he's like, "What are you looking at?" Kratos just smashes the vase. Nothing. They leave the treasure room they see a mural of wolves. And you got your whole skull and haughty nonsense.
Which is the beginning of Ragnarok.
Yeah, one's got to catch the sun, the other's got to catch that moon. For some reason, Odin controls them. Anyway, what was interesting about this chapter was that Kratos says that he thinks that those are the wolves that, like, ganked him and stole him from his, wherever the fuck he was last time, to Norse mythology land. So that's interesting and very strange.
It's fated.
Because I don't think they bring that up in the game. Because you don't
I don't
know why
remember
he's
that
there.
either, yeah.
You don't know why he's there. So the fact that
he like tried to escape all the god nonsense, and
these two wolves took a break from chasing the moon and the sun to go steal Kratos to bring him over here. Very strange.
And then Kratos tries to spin a wheel, and he gets caught in the wolf puzzle. And Atreus is like, "I can save you," and then he breaks his knife.
He tries to jam his knife into gears in order for Kratos to not
be
shot
for a
up
hot
into a spike trap. The knife snaps, but they are saved. And also the rune that Freya drew on Kratos' neck is gone for some reason.
Yeah, they mention it. But
they mentioned that, and
I think it was because you couldn't be protected. I think like the trap got rid of it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, puzzle solved. Kratos is not being shot up into a spike trap, but Atreus' knife that he got from his momsies is busted. And Kratos gives Atreus a new hunting knife that he made himself.
But it's got metal from both Greece and wherever they're supposed to be, Midgard.
Yeah, they got the black tablet.
The best of both worlds.
They got the black tablet with the rune. It shot out a light beam, and a stone troll came to life, and then they killed that, and now we're moving on to the next room, and they find a lift. Kratos decides to share the wine he stole with his son.
It smells like rotten eggs.
Sitting in the elevator, super gross.
And he's like,
underage drinking is cool.
Supposed to... And, like, Atreus is like, it's so gross, but I can't look like a wimp in front of my dad, so I'm just gonna swallow it.
Yeah. They make it back up. Kratos feels weird. Atreus is starting to get a god complex.
Oh, he's getting snippy about being a god.
Yeah.
Like, we do what we go where we want, we do what we want.
Modi shows up, Thor's son that's still alive. He's all bloody, and he's like, Thor blamed me for Magni's death.
So his dad beat the crap out of him.
So Thor beat the crap out of me, and now I'm here.
And then he insults Atreus' mom again.
Yeah, he made it a bang your mom joke. Classic gamer move. And then Atreus just killed him in cold blood. And Kratos is like, don't kill him, he's already beat up. And Atreus is like, well, we're the bringers of justice here.
Yes.
So, and Kratos is like, your actions will have consequences. And Atreus is not a boy anymore. He's a monster.
I put that he's acting like a psychopath asshole.
Close enough. Same diff. This is when Atreus stops listening to your button presses in game.
Oh yeah, he's super...
I love that. That AI, where he starts to get a god complex and he stops listening to your button mashing. Oh, that's so good. The portal to Jotunheim opened. They did all the stuff. They put the thing.
The rune, and they have the light. We have all the pieces. So they're like, finally, we're about to go to Jotunheim.
Thank God.
But...
Boulder came. Punch Kratos in the face. Kratos tells Atreus to run, but Atreus doesn't listen.
And Boulder says, my father's going to get what he needs from the boy.
Boulder backhanded Atreus.
Yeah, he does.
Then Boulder began hitting Kratos with boulders.
Mm-hmm.
Boulder hit Kratos with
boulders.
boulders. They managed to crumble the gate to Jotunheim. Great job, team.
So both Balder and Atreus is like, no! But Kratos does not care.
Atreus is pissed, trying to fight Balder. Kratos is like, boy, you better not, and then shoves him. And then he's like, oh no, I hit my son.
No, Atreus shoves him first.
He does. He shoves him.
Yeah, and then Kratos shoves him back. And he's like, oh, I'm being a bad dad. Then Atreus shoots him.
Kratos with an arrow. And then he's running at Boulder, and he's like, I'm going to stab ya. And then Boulder grabs him by the neck, basically.
And he stabs Boulder in the forearm.
Boulder in the arm, and Boulder's like, I think you should have your knife back. And he pulls it out and stabs him in, like, the tummy or something.
Back, or I thought it was, like, the shoulder or the back.
I think it was still Atreus' arm. And then he runs off with him. So he's running away. Boulder jumped on a dragon with Atreus in his arms. Yeah. Kratos is close behind. He managed to also jump on the dragon.
They fight.
They took out the dragon, and Boulder and Atreus fell onto Tyr's temple.
Well, so, like, Kratos has got, like, his
blades
in the dragon. He's like, I'm riding this thing down to the ground because that's the only safe landing. And then he, like, catches Atreus and then, like, tries to throw him on the back of the dragon, and like Atreus slips, and then Boulder has to decide whether he wants to go after the kid or he wants to go after Kratos, and so decisions are being made.
He decides the kid, though.
Yeah.
He grabs the kid again. And then they're in Tyr's temple, and Kratos has to run to Tyr's temple because he landed somewhere else.
He's far away.
So when he manages to bust into Tyr's temple, Boulder's trying to open the gate to Asgard, and Atreus is like KO'd in the corner. Yeah, so Kratos and Boulder are fighting, and they're shoving their Bifrosts in the little thing.
Yes.
They're having a Bifrost fight.
They're short-circuiting the...
Kratos wins. He opens the gate to Helheim. Mm-hmm. And Boulder just flies out because it's so cold and windy.
Sucked in. And Boulder, on his way out, takes Atreus. Mm-hmm. And so Kratos is like, crap, I have to go back to Helheim.
Yeah, so now we're in Helheim. Boulder and Kratos are fighting in the air. Dragon Ball Z again. Until they crash near the Helheim pier. Kratos finds Atreus, but is pissed and gives him a lecture before Hellwalkers show up, and they gotta fight those. What did he give him a lecture on? What was he mad about? The fact that they got into a fight in the middle of a fight.
I think he, like, shot him with an arrow.
He pushed him. Like, forcefully.
Atreus pushed him first.
But Atreus is like 11. It's not like if an 11-year-old shoved me, I would just, like, slap him in the face.
Catch these hands.
I am stronger. So a phantom Atreus shows up.
And it's a retelling of his past murderous self.
Mm-hmm. Retelling of him killing Modi. And he's like, is that really me? Ew.
I don't even recognize myself anymore.
And Kratos is like, don't worry about it. We got other things to do.
Yeah. He's like, learn your lesson. Let's move on.
Learn your lesson faster, please. They have to find another way back, and that's not the death bridge. He's like, we can't cross this bridge. We will die.
Yeah.
So they see Balder. He's also watching a phantom version of himself yelling at his mom, who is
Freya.
Freya gasps. She made sure that he can't feel and can't die, and he's pretty mad about it.
Yeah, he's like, you took everything from me, and she's like, I was just trying to protect you, and he's like, protect this.
Protect this.
Tries to kill her.
He's throwing a temper tantrum and sobbing, so they're like, now's the perfect time to sneak past him while he's throwing a tantrum. So they dip.
But so he wanted to kill his mom in the shadow. That's what he's watching, and he's like reenacting it behind. Mm-hmm. He's like, do it. Yeah, but he kill her. And then he didn't end up doing it, and so he like calls himself a coward.
Yeah. So it's Kratos' turn to watch his phantom. It's him in Greece, and he's like, oh no, Atreus is here. Atreus, don't look. And Atreus is like, I don't really care. They reach the bridge. They get attacked by Hellwalkers. They kill them. Kratos makes a makeshift balloon on a boat so he can fly up to the portal. It worked, and they started moving upwards, but they need to get up a waterfall.
And then Zeus keeps popping back.
Their boat gets stuck on an iceberg. Kratos starts chopping. They get free and then stuck again. That happens like 4 times. Kratos had to get down to solve a puzzle. This happens one more time. Before Phantom Kratos shows up again, and then he's like, oh no, Atreus, don't look. And Atreus is like, I still don't care. They get attacked by Hellwalkers.
It's like, I saw nothing.
Their boat gets harpooned like 3 times, and Kratos has to hack at the harpoons.
They were like trying to put out the light.
Before they reach the temple, a big mist comes in, and then it's the big moment where Kratos kills his dad Zeus. And Atreus is like, whatever, I don't really care, we're gonna crash. We have to jump. And then they do jump. They jump off the flying boat, and the ship crashes, and they land in Odin's library in Helheim. Why is it there? I don't know. You
need some peace and quiet in your library.
He hoards knowledge there. Mimir wanted to look at some stuff.
There's a panel that was missing from Tyr's palace? Tower?
Temple?
Temple. And they're like, haha.
They find Tyr's secret plan, another way to get into Jotunheim.
He's got the magic eyes from the giants, like Mimir has. And Mimir's like, let me take a look. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, there's a key.
They need a key, and Atreus memorizes the key. He's super, super brain.
That young brain.
We didn't have a dwarf make this key, so obviously we need to go talk to one of the dwarves. Kratos is like, hey, Atreus, about what you saw. And Atreus is like, I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything, I swear. He's lying, but he doesn't want to talk about it, and neither does Kratos. So they're like, okay, sounds good. They left for Midgard.
Back in Midgard.
They're gonna go to Brock.
And who else is there?
Oh my god, Sindri shows up.
He's like, you could do this technique, because he's like, I don't know how to
Brock
make a
was
key.
like, is it a weapon? No, then I'm not making it. And then Sindri shows up and is like, but that key looks super dope. You should make it. And he's like, all is forgiven, brother.
And I just need this scad thingy.
So, like,
and he's like, I have some. The germaphobe has poop.
In the game, Atreus chews out one of them. And so when this scene happens, it's because Atreus chewed out one of them.
Yeah.
And so that's why they meet up. But in the book, it just happens.
He just keeps popping up places.
He's like, oh, all is forgiven, bro. I just thought about it really hard.
Yeah.
So that was kind of weird. I don't know.
We need each other.
Why they took that out. So yeah, Brock is down to clown now. They're working on it together. They make the key. Kratos grabs it and storms off. Classic Kratos move. Ungrateful. They gotta find the door to Tyr's temple. They found the right door with the key super fast.
Yeah. He's like, hey, I know where there's a door that needs a key.
They find a talisman.
A wolf head talisman, which is important.
Yeah.
Sort of. I don't remember that being in the game, honestly.
I don't remember much of this part.
No.
They find out that they have to walk between the realms.
So they're where the world tree
Yeah, they're sort of have to walk on the world tree in a way, which I guess works.
And they
go to the realm between realms and they have to jump down. They find a tower.
It's the missing tower. Where are you going to hide something in between the places?
It's empty. Well, there's a pedestal in this room, and so they put their little talisman on it, and then it disappears. And I guess it worked because the travel bridge started moving. It went past Alfheim, and they get
like all the doors open. It's like hey, you're towards the end of the game now, so we're gonna recall all the things that you did. Ready?
Remember these elves?
These dark elves, they're attacking you again.
Remember these wolvers?
Yeah, here they come again.
In Vanaheim, which we didn't go to. But yeah, we passed Vanaheim, we get attacked by wolvers. Now we're in Midgard and it locks. Mimir is like, better hurry, there's 2 ravens. They probably already told Odin.
And that's when we find out that the ravens are...
Hugin and Mugen. Which are the funnest names to say in the whole world.
Hugin and Mugen.
I love
They are basically Odin's...
Watchbird. Snitches.
they get all the info and they bring it back to Odin. They're like gigantic freaking ravens too.
Love Hugin and Mugen.
And they're like, so...
They need Mimir's other eye in order to go to Jotunheim because he only has one. Remember, Odin pulled out the other one.
Yeah, they gotta find the other one.
So they have to ask Brock and Sindri because they don't know anyone else who's friendly besides the witch, but we want to talk to her.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk to Brock and Sindri. Brock and Sindri are like, oh yeah, Odin came and asked us to build a Thor statue with a hidden compartment for this eyeball. But we said no because we hate him. And they're like, the one the serpent ate? Ugh!
Oh yeah, that's right. I did put a secret compartment into the hammer.
They summon the snake and they're like, hey, you ate a thing. Can you vomit it back up? Because we need it. We need to get that eye. And he's like, you can go in my mouth. So they're going to go do that.
So they go inside the world serpent, and like Atreus is like, "Ew, this is so gross," and Mimir's like, "Yeah, the world serpent isn't happy about this either."
But they see this. They see the statue in the world serpent's stomach. Kratos is pretty sure the eye is in the hammer. He was right. He gets it out. He pushes it into Mimir's socket, and now they have to signal the snake to be like, "Let us out!"
But he's busy.
I like how they use Mimir's eyes as a flashlight. Anyway, they reach the snake's mouth, and it sounds like the snake is getting attacked from the outside or having real gastrointestinal problems. So they get vomited out, and the snake looks like it's about to pass out.
It shoots them near the ice giant.
Yeah. And then Freya shows up, and she's like, "What's up with the snake?" Anyway, I'm looking for my son. Have you seen him?
I heard he's here.
Yeah. And then Baldur shows up from under the world serpent. He just lifts it up, whatever.
He's the one.
He was the one who was punching it. Freya starts crying. Baldur's really pissed. Kratos steps between them, and Freya's like, "Back off, Kratos." But he doesn't. And then he went nose to nose with Baldur, and he's like, "You don't want to do this, guy." Now the boys are fighting. Freya is now wedging herself between Kratos and Baldur.
She's like, "No, he's my son."
Magical roots come up, and Baldur dodges it. And he KOs his mom with a block of ice.
Yeah.
So he dodges it, and he throws a chunk of ice at her, and it's like, "Ka-doink!" And then she passes out. Kratos did not dodge in time and got wrapped up by roots, so now Atreus has to get him free. Baldur and Atreus are also fighting, and Atreus loses real hard and gets pushed back.
Like punches him in the chest.
Yeah. But he's covered in blood, and Kratos is like, "Oh my god, no, my son!" And he's like, "It's not my blood. It's not mine. It's Baldur's." And Baldur's is like, "Whoa."
He's like, "Oh, I feel
bleeding.
things cold." Before all the fight too, like Baldur makes a really weird comment where he tries to kill himself 129 times because he's super mad at his mom. He's like, "This is all your fault." Like,
Well, yeah, he rehashes
that's a long time to
try to kill yourself.
Yeah. And 129 is a very specific number. I don't know if
He's
that
counting.
has anything to do with anything, but
Yeah, so he used this mistletoe strap, not really arrow.
yeah, he broke his something or other.
His bow thingy.
Yeah, and so they like used the arrow to fix it, but I don't think they talked about that in the book because all of a sudden he has a mistletoe and she's like,
yeah.
"Oh, she forgot about one of them."
I was confused. So I was like, "Wait, how did that?" I thought she burned them all, but yeah, I guess he forgot. His bow strap did like break, I think, in the game, and then you had to fix it, or like the dwarves had to fix it or something, and they used.
I thought
the
it was
mistletoe.
just like a makeshift, like, "Oh, I broke this. Let me."
Oh, before she burns all of the
MacGyver
mistletoe
it, yeah.
thing? Yeah. Now the curse is broken, and he can get hurt.
And Baldur wants to die, like he's over this life, and Freya's like, "Nope, you're my son."
Yeah, Freya woke up at the worst moment, as Kratos and Atreus just beat the hell out of Baldur. Freya reanimated the large frost giant and used it as a giant robot to block Kratos. They go around the giant to beat the hell out of Baldur some more, and now Baldur has to dodge, and he's not very good at it because he's never had to dodge before.
Because now things hurt.
Yeah.
Freya, the whole time they're fighting, is like, "No, stop it."
Knock it off. I'm going to use this giant to block you with its hand. And they're like, "There's a crystal in its hand. Atreus, remember that dumb gift you got from Sindri that blows up crystals? Use it." So he did. And then it didn't even, just slowed it a little bit. Didn't even do anything. And then Atreus is like, "I have another idea." He goes and talks to the snake the best he can because he learned.
Whale.
He speaks whale to the snake. The snake is like, "I got it. I understand what you're saying. I get what you're putting down."
He woke up, he's not dead.
And then the snake eats the frost giant that Freya is controlling. Yeah. Kratos is about to kill Baldur and then decides he's better than that and doesn't do it. Yeah, so Kratos and Atreus are walking off, and then Baldur's about to smash his mom's head in with a rock. But then Kratos smashes his head in
from behind.
An axe first. And Freya is pissed and curses them.
"My dear sweet boy, he is neither dear nor sweet."
Atreus is like, "Girl, chill. He saved your life." And she's like, "Nah, y'all are monsters." Kratos is like, "You don't know me." And then turns and tells Atreus his entire backstory.
Yeah.
He's like, "Before this lady can spoil everything, I'm going to tell you it."
He says, "We will be the gods we choose to be, not the gods who have been." So he's like, "We'll be better.
We gotta be better.
We'd be better."
Freya walks off with Boulder in her arms. Mimir
She's
is
like, you will regret this.
Mimir's like, she'll get over it. Don't worry about it.
She was really pissed, so I will rain fire upon you.
They're talking about how happy that they actually did that, though, so they're pretty chill about it. They're like, I'm glad we saved her, you know. I'm glad we saved her, and we're glad that Boulder didn't smash her.
Mimir also says it's better that she's in this world.
Mm-hmm. Even though I'm pretty sure she dies during Ragnarok, so spoilers. Mm-hmm. They went back to the realm travel room. They put Mimir in the crystal location, and they're like, all right, Mimir, hope you don't explode. And he's like, wait a second, what? And then
can we talk about that?
Shots out of his eyeballs, the Bifrost.
He's like, it's unpleasant.
Opens to Jotunheim.
There's a staircase.
We're finally here.
We made it.
We made it to Jotunheim.
Jotunheim. A
staircase awaited them. Mimir doesn't want to kill the vibe, so he's like, I'm gonna hang back with Brock and Sindri.
And he's like, we can't just leave you by yourself. And then he's like, the dwarfs both show up. They're like, we wanted to see what you did. Like, we had to be here for this. And then they're like, here,
watch his head.
He hands it to Sindri. He like throws it at Sindri, and Sindri is like, gross. And he throws it to Brock, and Brock's a little too like into having a severed head in his hands. And Mimir's like, I changed my mind and take me with you.
But they're like, already gone.
Peace out.
So
Father-son trip.
They see the summit on the giant's fingers in the distance. Kratos takes off his bandages as they're walking. And he finally gives Atreus the pouch of his mom's ashes to carry.
Yeah.
Finally.
He's got his mom.
They come across a shrine and they see carved images of their mom being shunned by giants.
Yeah, she's got a little baby in her hand, and they're like pointing, get out of here.
They see their house with Atreus in it. And Atreus is like, this is spooky, I don't like this. They also see their fight with Boulder.
Yeah.
That just freaking happened. And that's when they figure out that Atreus' mom and Kratos' wife is a giant. And then there's a final image of Atreus holding a corpse and weeping, but we don't know.
But it's damaged, so you can't tell who it is.
Although, isn't the game... It's like,
him.
It's him.
Yeah.
It's Kratos.
So they think that Balder was actually sent to find the mom because she had these visions of what was going to happen.
She's a giant, and giants can see the future. So she knew what was going to happen, so she sketched it all down.
Would she be the last? So there's no more giants left. Like, there's no one here.
Except for Atreus, who's a halfie.
Who now finds out that he's a half. But he's like, you're also half god, half giant, half mortal?
Question mark?
I don't know.
I don't know why he said that.
That's math. That's like...
That's not how that works.
That's one too many halves.
I don't think Kratos can do math, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, so Atreus is the last giant.
And he's only a half giant.
And he's only half.
So they spread the ashes together, and then they begin their long journey back.
So there is, on one of the panels, Atreus finds out that Atreus is not his actual name.
Mm-hmm.
That he was born and given a different name. And that name is?
Loki.
So he's like, well, then what the crap is about this Atreus name? And so Kratos is like, well, I had a friend. He was the bravest of all warriors of Sparta. So here's the thing you've been waiting for, the messed up crap in Greek mythology.
Sounds good.
So Atreus I don't know if it's, I guess technically it's mythology, but it's also sort of history. Atreus is the father of Agamemnon and Menelaus.
Ew.
And there is something that happened that he does something naughty that causes that whole bloodline to be cursed. So their bloodline is cursed because he had a brother. Atreus had a brother, and they fought over they fought over the land, and Atreus and his wife end up being exiled.
Okay.
But Atreus' son ends up being raised by his brother. So he got left behind. And so Atreus' brother sends that now grown-up son to kill Atreus. Atreus kills this kid who's trying to kill him, not knowing that it's his own son. So once he finds out it's his own son, he's super pissed. Because in, like, the whole Greek mythology, you're not supposed to kill your relatives. You're not supposed to kill your parents. You're not supposed to kill your kids. That's where the Furies come to get you.
That's what gods do all the time.
So to get back at his brother, he takes his kid and he kills him. And then he invites his brother to his house and says, no hard feelings. Come on over to my house. and then feeds his brother's kids to him.
Oh my god.
So he eats them.
Messed up.
Yeah. And then this is now then he has Agamemnon and Menelaus. Menelaus' wife was Helen of Troy, and she was taken or went with Paris, whatever story you want to believe. And that caused the Trojan War. Agamemnon then, to get to Troy, he sacrifices his own daughter to have favorable winds. His wife is super pissed because she's like, that's my kid.
Mm-hmm.
So when Agamemnon comes back with a war bride, so he brings a lady back with him, who is Cassandra, who, like, she can see the future, but no one believes her. She sees her own death because Clytemnestra also has a boyfriend because they're gone for like 15 years. When Agamemnon comes back, her and her boyfriend kill Cassandra and kill Agamemnon. And then Agamemnon and Clytemnestra's son, this is the Orestrid trilogy, then kills his mom.
The drama.
It's the curse of the bloodline.
Okay.
So because he killed his nephew and fed it to his brother, that cursed their whole bloodline. And that's what Atreus is named after.
Well, I think Atreus is cursed because of his dad being cursed, I think.
Yes.
In the previous games. Like, he's cursed to suffer, so...
Yeah.
Something like that. Damn. Well...
So that is the story of Atreus. But now Atreus is Loki, and that was the big whoo of the game. You find out that Loki is the one that will cause Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm. And... Well, let's finish talking about this book, and then I want to talk about theories.
So this brings us to, we're back in Midgard in the epilogue.
Back in Midgard. It's winter now.
It's not just winter, it's Fimbulwinter.
Oh, dip.
Fimbulwinter is when you have 3 winters in a row with no summer.
Like an ice age.
And that is the beginning of, that's not good.
Hugin and Mugen were watching them walk back, and then they get attacked by Atreus' mom's falcon.
Yeah, Atreus is like, home. I can shoot them, and they're like, no, they're gonna see us, and the falcon saves them.
They talk to Brock and Sindri, who says that they built that axe that Kratos is using to be Mjolnir's equal. They felt bad that they built Mjolnir, and it killed so many giants, so that because Thor killed a bunch of giants, so he felt bad, so he made that axe for this giantess lady
for her revenge.
Yeah, so they fell asleep in their nice house. They all went back,
which is like broken still. There's a giant hole in it.
And they were woken up by a thunderstorm, and it's Thor. Thor's at their house, and also Ragnarok began
because the wolf is eating the moon.
Ragnarok is about to begin on November 9th, 2022. The next game. Okay.
And thus ends the God of War. And actually, so that was in the game. Like, you had to go back to the house. You could have just, like, quit the game. And they're like, oh, it was an Easter egg. But the people that made the game were like, we told you to go back to the house.
Yeah.
It's not really an Easter egg.
Not really an Easter egg.
But then there was a lot of speculation as well as to, is that a dream or is that a vision that Loki's having versus Thor being there?
Oh, I'm gonna assume the game's gonna start out with you fighting Thor. But Thor, I really hope that you don't kill Thor, and I hope that the giant snake kills Thor.
Well, it has to, because that's.
But it is also not. It's not like they're following Ragnarok to
that's
the T.
True. Because part of what happens.
So Loki dies in Ragnarok. So what I'm thinking is, I don't think Atreus is gonna make it. I think Kratos is gonna be fine. I think he's cursed, and his son's gonna die.
Well, they made a point of talking about, like, how awful, like, because Freya was willing to die at the hand of Balder. And Atreus is like, that's weird. And then he talks to his dad. He's like, would you die? He's like, if it meant that you lived, yes. I
think they're setting it up so you think Kratos is going to die at this God of War game. And I don't think he actually is.
I don't think they'd kill this series.
They would not. It makes too much money, so they're gonna kill Atreus. That's my guess. He might die for a little bit, but honestly, Kratos dies all the time and comes back. So, like... Yeah. So it doesn't really matter. And it's gonna be anticlimactic and a bummer. That's my theory about what's gonna happen. Because Loki does die during Ragnarok, so...
Because he has to go against Odin.
Unless they're playing it so that Kratos takes Loki's place in that fight.
Could be. He would have to go against Odin.
But I also still think that they're not going to kill him off, and they're going to have Loki die.
Maybe Freya will.
Well, Freya also dies during Ragnarok.
Yeah, but she's definitely against Kratos now. But maybe she'll step in and save Atreus.
That'll be interesting.
Because she's got that motherly instinct.
Well, we'll
so
find
many
out.
questions.
We'll find out soon. Because as of
Very
recording
soon.
this, the game comes out next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are we reading next week?
I am so sorry. I apologize.
I know she warned me about this, but she wouldn't tell me what it was.
I apologize for this, but I had to read this in order to continue my playthrough
I'm scared.
of Mass Effect. So that's the third Mass Effect book. Mass Effect Retribution.
Are we skipping 2 or just going to 3?
We already read 2.
We read the first book.
We read the first book and the second book.
Oh, dang, that's right.
This is the third one. I got it from a library.
Retribution. Karpyshyn. This is like our 4th Karpyshyn read.
So,
Humanity has reached the stars.
I know. Yeah.
Or
Honestly,
Sanders.
people said that this Mass Effect book is the only one that kind of matters to the plot. And there is if you know Kai Lang from 3, he originates from this book. So I had to read it before continuing my Mass Effect 3 playthrough. So that's what we're reading next month. Okay, thank you for listening. Have a good day.
Ragnarok.